Your name echoed in heaven on October 2, but no answer returned. The delay is costing you more than you see. Act before divine silence becomes divine judgment. On October 2nd, a name rose from the earth like incense. Your name. It did not rise by accident. It did not rise because of noise, manipulation, or chance. It rose because heaven had been watching. The cry that left your spirit, wordless yet weighty, pierced through atmospheres and echoed through the corridors of the throne room. Angels paused. Scrolls were checked. The wind shifted. And yet no answer came. The silence was not abandonment. It was attention. It was not rejection. It was reverence. For in that silence, a weight hung in the balance. A holy hush swept through the chambers of the divine, and in that stillness, heaven watched. Not all names echo through eternity. Not all cries are counted among the sacred frequencies. But yours was. And still, heaven did not move. Why? Because there are moments when heaven pauses, not because it is unaware, but because it is waiting to see if you will move in flesh what you cried out for in spirit. This message is not for the many. It is not for the casual. It is not for the content. It is not for the ones who sleep while the Spirit is speaking. This word is a blade. It cuts with discernment, and it divides between those who heard the silence and those who ignored it. If you felt the spiritual stillness, if you've prayed and then felt an eerie quiet, if October 2nd came and went and you still felt unfinished business in the heavens, this word is for you. You are not being ignored. You are being observed. And that delay, that divine pause, it is costing you more than you see. For every moment you hesitate, doors close in other realms. For every time you second guess, assignments shift to others. The kingdom is always moving. Delay does not mean peace. Silence does not mean safety. And the absence of noise is not the presence of approval. If you do not respond soon, what began as delay will calcify into judgment. This is not to harm you. It is to awaken you. You are not out of time, but you are on the edge of a turning. And what you do next will either align you with divine acceleration or leave you stranded in a place you were never meant to stay. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. He who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. O Spirit of the living God, O fire that never fades, O voice that thunders through silence, we invite you now. Archangel Michael steps forward not in whispers, but in command. I speak now not as a messenger among many, but as the one sent with the scroll bearing your name. For the hour is turning, and heaven has been waiting for you to realize. You are the turning point. You are not just waiting on heaven. Heaven is waiting on you. Before the sun rises again, a decision must be made. And if not, what was silence will become storm. This word comes not from the earth, but from the vaults of eternal time. You have felt the stirring. You have felt the silence. You have prayed, but felt no peace. You've listened, but heard no reply. It is because heaven is holding its breath. On October 2nd, a name was spoken aloud before the throne. Your name. It was not whispered. It was declared, and heaven paused to respond. But the silence that followed was not divine neglect. It was divine interruption. The pause was not a denial. The silence was not a void. It was a separation, a selection, a mocking. You are being separated from noise, from distraction, from delay, because something sacred was being readied. But when the Holy Spirit comes close, everything unclean rises in resistance. That is why this silence has felt heavy. That is why your nights have been loud with thoughts, but empty of answers. Do not confuse holy hesitation with abandonment. When heaven chooses to wait, it is never without reason. You are being weighed. You are being watched. And you are not being watched casually. You are being watched like a soldier on the brink of battle. This is not observation. This is warfare. This is divine strategy unfolding. You have been asking for answers. But this is not the season for answers. It is the season for alignment. You are being invited into a decision before you see the result. You are being asked to respond before the reward is revealed. The heavens do not respond to passive hearts. They move for the obedient, the listening, the chosen. This message is not for everyone. No, this is not a general word. This is not a universal blessing. This is not for those seeking comfort. It is for those who cannot ignore the pressure any longer. It is for those who feel that everything around them is waiting on them to wake up. You were chosen for this hour. Your name echoed not because of popularity, not because of performance, but because of prophetic alignment. Something about your spirit touched a timing in God, and now the angels are standing still, waiting on your next move. The earth may not recognize you, but heaven knows your name. Let this word awaken the fire within you. Let it shake you out of indecision. The divine pause is not your punishment. It is your permission. Permission to move with clarity. Permission to pray with boldness. Permission to act without apology. But if you do not act, this silence will become a sentence. Before sunrise, let your soul speak. Let your obedience cry out louder than your fear. Let your yes come not from your mouth, but from your movement. For when heaven pauses, it is not to confuse you. It is to prepare you to step into something your mind could not yet understand. The Spirit is hovering. The veil is thin. The watchers are near. What you do in the next hours determines what unfolds in the coming season. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. In the hidden chambers of the unseen realm, your name is whispered. Not just by angels, not just by the saints who intercede. It is whispered also by those who watch from the shadows, the ones who sense your rising, but cannot discern your full measure. They know of your calling, but they do not know the fullness of your power. They see glimpses of your mantle, but they cannot trace the hand that placed it on your shoulders. They hear the echo of your prayers. They do not understand the source of the fire that fuels them. This is why you have felt the pull, the tension, the inner unrest. This is why, after October 2nd, everything seemed to grow quieter and heavier all at once. It is not your imagination. It is not mere delay. It is the convergence of the seen and unseen. The silence of heaven is not empty. It is crowded with movement. Angels shifting. Scrolls being sealed. Demonic plots being broken and rewritten. The air above you is thick with negotiations you cannot hear. While you slept, heaven recorded. While you wept, heaven wrote. While you questioned, heaven planned. But in that planning, you have felt the ache of not knowing. The ache of waiting. The ache of feeling overlooked when in reality, you are being protected from premature exposure. The watchers in the unseen realm cannot know everything. They can only guess. They smell destiny like wolves smell blood, but they do not know the hour of your rising. This is why attacks feel random and subtle, why betrayal seems to appear in the least expected places, why silence has felt like punishment when it was actually preparation. You are in a chamber between seasons. You are not being punished. You are being hidden. And in this hiding, heaven is watching your reactions. Will you break under the weight of not knowing? Will you lose faith in the stillness? Will you sabotage your own mantle by trying to force an answer from God before it's time? Or will you hold your ground, silent as heaven is silent, still as heaven is still, and wait until the fire inside you burns with the same rhythm as the fire above you? The unseen realm is not idle. Even now, conversations about you are happening where you cannot enter. Even now, your obedience is being measured. Even now, God is allowing the silence to break your dependence on signs so that your faith can rise into sight. What you do not see is not absence. It is orchestration. They are whispering. They are wondering. They are watching. But they do not know. And if you remain in alignment, they will never know until it is too late. When heaven moves on your behalf, it will not announce itself to your enemies. It will break forth like dawn, silently at first, then unstoppable. What they tried to steal will be returned tenfold. What they tried to delay will be accelerated. What they tried to bury will resurrect with fire. But you must not break the silence before heaven does. This is your testing ground. This is your refinement. The silence you feel is not abandonment. It is the sound of strategy. Trust the strategy. Trust the timing. Trust the watcher who never sleeps. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 4411 is now active around you. Beloved, if this word is striking your spirit, it is because you are part of the mission heaven is advancing through this message. Every time you sow into this work, whether through a super thanks, a YouTube membership, or a gift through the PayPal link in the description, you are not just giving to a channel. You are fueling the reaching of souls that may never otherwise hear the prophetic call you've just heard. This is seed into fertile ground. As it is written, he who waters others will himself be watered. When you act, you release a prophetic response that opens heaven over your own life. I invite you now, not as a suggestion, but as a divine opportunity, to partner with this mission. Let your giving be like oil poured upon the altar, igniting a harvest of souls. Your obedience in supporting carries a blessing attached to it. Step into that blessing now. Listen closely now. For what you are experiencing is not just emotional stillness. It is spiritual war wrapped in divine silence. It is not the kind of war that spills blood in the streets or echoes through the shouts of men. No. This is the kind of war that happens behind the veil, where God says nothing and watches everything. Where your name is held on angelic scrolls, and the silence is a summons to see what you'll do when there is no sound. This moment you're in, this place of holy discomfort, it is not proof that heaven has abandoned you. It is proof that you've been chosen to be tested in the fire. For the fire is not the enemy's doing, it is God's forge. It is not punishment. It is precision. And only those marked for more are invited into this level of divine observation. From the outside, it looks like confusion, delays, missed doors, prayers unanswered. But in heaven's eyes, this is a measurement. God is weighing your reactions, your silence, your posture. The delay is not because you did something wrong. It is because you are being prepared to carry what others are not qualified to touch. This is the testing of kings. This is the silence before coronation. The enemy has not increased his attack because you're failing. He has increased his assault because you are dangerously close to fulfilling your assignment. Do you not perceive it? Do you not feel the eyes on you, both holy and unholy, watching your next move? You have not been cast aside. You have been drawn out of the crowd, placed on the front lines of prophetic fulfillment, and now every step you take is strategic. Your silence is sacred. Your stillness is warfare. You were not born for easy seasons. You were not anointed for passive obedience. You were not mantled to blend in. You were marked to move heaven, and movements like that must first be proven in the pause. The Lord is allowing this moment of confusion to frame your character, to form your discernment, to kill off your dependence on external confirmation and resurrect your inner conviction. Heaven is watching every decision you make right now. Every word you say in this silence is either building your next season or binding it. Every person you confide in is either a gate or a snare. Every moment of doubt you surrender to will be recorded, not for condemnation, but for confirmation. You are in a moment where the silence is sacred evidence. Heaven is not absent. Heaven is recording. Do not mistake your confusion for failure. What you feel right now is the weight of destiny pressing against the shell of your former self. The pressure is proof that something in you is growing beyond your current space. This isn't punishment. It's preparation for transition. The silence is simply the space between who you were and who you're about to become. So stand still, breathe deep, and know the throne has not turned its face from you. The silence is not rejection, it is recognition. You've been called into the arena of testing where those called by God are observed in their weakness and then crowned in their resilience. Keep your spirit clean. Guard your heart. Speak only what heaven gives. For if you pass this test, you won't just enter a new season. You'll step into a new dimension of spiritual authority. Heaven's silence is holy strategy. And your response is writing the next part of your scroll. Type "I will pass this test" in the comments if this word reaches you. Blessing code 5511 is sealing you even now. Mark this moment. Let it settle into your spirit with holy fear and trembling. Within the next 72 hours, there will be a spiritual shift that touches what your natural eyes cannot yet perceive. It will be quiet. It will be subtle. But it will be irreversible. In this divine silence, a door is forming, and either you will walk through it in obedience, or you will be replaced by another whose spirit is still listening. This is not meant to frighten. It is meant to awaken. It is not to shame. It is to stir. For there is a line being drawn in the spirit, and your positioning in the coming hours will determine what heaven does with your name next. There are forces aligning, both angelic and demonic, and their movements are not random. Something is converging behind the veil. There are conversations occurring that involve your future, your territory, your mantle. And though you may feel still on the outside, the spirit realm is boiling with activity. You are not standing still. You are standing in the center of a spiritual chessboard, and every square around you is loaded with consequence. You sensed it, that rising tension, that sudden fatigue, the strange encounters with people who seem out of place. It's not just life. It's not just stress. It is pressure created by a spiritual decision forming over you. Somewhere in the dark, something is plotting. Somewhere in the spirit, something is preparing to strike, not to destroy you fully, but to distract you enough to miss your window. Because they know if you miss this moment, the delay will turn from divine silence into divine judgment. God is not punishing you. He is protecting you. But He will not force you into obedience. Heaven is not passive. It is watching you intently. And every moment of hesitation, every act of compromise, every misplaced conversation is influencing the realm of what happens next. Your delay is not harmless. It is costly. Because behind the scenes, there are others who want what's on your scroll. They've been watching. Some pretending to support you. Others waiting for you to fumble your assignment. You must be vigilant. You must be silent. You must be surgical with your obedience. Heaven is only giving you pieces of the picture right now, on purpose. If you had the full view, you would move ahead of schedule. If you saw what was truly at stake, you'd be tempted to act in panic instead of precision. That's why you only have part of the vision. That's why the dreams are fragmented. That's why the confirmations have slowed. Heaven is pulling you deeper, calling you higher, demanding from you a kind of faith that walks into a fog and still trusts there's a floor. But know this, time is not waiting. Within these 72 hours, something will be decided over your life and the spirit. A verdict will be reached. And if you move prematurely, if you speak out of turn, if you react emotionally instead of responding prophetically, what was meant for you will be paused, possibly postponed, and in some cases, handed to another. You don't have time for emotional instability. You don't have time for misalignment. You don't have the luxury of spiritual casualness anymore. The weight of your calling has triggered attention from both heaven and hell. And now, all of creation is leaning in to see what you do next. Stay low. Stay listening. Stay hidden. Because the shift is not coming. It's already begun. Type "I will not miss my moment" in the comments if this message strikes your spirit. Blessing code 777 is now covering you. There is a stillness that does not signify surrender. It is a stillness that signals supremacy. When heaven begins to war on your behalf, the greatest act of power you can display is not in what you say or what you do, but in what you refuse to say and what you refuse to do. The silence you felt is not abandonment. It is a command. Be still and let the Lord show himself as your defender. This is the moment where obedience does not look like action. It looks like restraint. You are being instructed to stand down so that heaven can rise up. This battle is not yours. If you place your hands on it now, you will forfeit what was meant to be finished without your interference. You do not need to clarify yourself. You do not need to explain your silence. You do not need to fight to be seen or known. Your name has already echoed in the courts of eternity, and heaven has assigned angels not just to fight for you, but to preserve your position while you remain hidden. In the stillness, your strength is being fortified. In the silence, your authority is being deepened. This is not the time to move out of frustration. It is the time to sit, listen, discern, and say nothing until God gives you fire in your mouth. You are not being silenced. You are being shielded. You are not being delayed. You are being delivered from the traps of premature movement. Many around you are moving quickly, speaking prematurely, acting without counsel, reacting in the flesh. But you must not follow them. The Lord has set you apart. You are under a different instruction, and that instruction is clear. Stand still. Heaven is fighting when you don't. There are wars you do not see. Strategy you are not yet allowed to touch. God is working in secret, removing obstacles you didn't even know existed. He is exposing lies before they could trap you. He is closing doors you thought you wanted, so he can open the ones he has ordained. You are in the cleft of the rock, like Moses, hidden by the hand of God while his glory passes by. And if you try to step out too soon, you will expose yourself to warfare that was never yours to fight. Your silence is a weapon. Your stillness is a shield. Your refusal to react is a declaration to every watching spirit. I trust the God who sees what I do not. Let no one provoke you out of position. Let no voice tempt you into visibility before the time. This is your secret season, your cocoon moment. The oil is being formed in silence. The power is being matured in isolation. And if you can stay still, stay low, stay obedient, the very thing that tried to delay you will become the stage where heaven displays you. Say less. Pray more. Fast. Listen. Shut the door. Protect your atmosphere. Because even the wrong conversation can dismantle the hedge of angelic covering placed around you right now. Every idle word is a seed. Every emotional outburst is a breach. You don't have time for that now. You are walking on holy ground. And when the holy watches the wise stay silent, the greatest victories come not when your voice is the loudest, but when heaven's voice is heard because you were quiet enough to listen. Type "I am still because he fights for me" in the comments if this resonates. Blessing code 3131 now surrounds your home and your name. Hear this now. You are not who you were when the silence began. You are not who they remember. You are not the same vessel that cried out on October 2nd. That person has died in the fire of waiting. That version of you, the one still looking for answers, the one begging for clarity, the one questioning their worth, has been consumed. What remains now is a rising. They saw the ashes and assumed you had been buried. But they did not realize that heaven allowed the burning so you could emerge reforged. Not broken, not lesser, but more dangerous than ever. You are not just enduring the silence, you are being reshaped by it. What they thought would weaken you is what has now positioned you. They touched a vessel, but they provoked a warrior. And now, heaven is whispering a truth into your spirit that changes everything. You are not who they think you are anymore. No more apologizing for your authority. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. No more allowing false humility to delay your destiny. Your fire is not too much. Your oil is not up for debate. Your name was echoed in heaven because heaven knows what earth still refuses to recognize. You are chosen, marked, refined, and sent. Your wings are beginning to unfurl. Slowly, quietly, but fully. And once they open, you will not fly at the level you used to. This isn't about influence. This is about altitude. God is raising you into a place where the air is too thin for the opinions of men and the attacks of small-minded spirits. You are being elevated, not for applause, but for assignment. Do not try to fit back into rooms that were only meant to hold the old version of you. They will reject you, not because you're wrong, but because you've outgrown their relevance. You are ascending, and those who refuse to rise with you will have no choice but to fall behind. The fear, the doubt, the weariness, it was all real. But it was never meant to be permanent. God allowed it to empty you, so He could fill you again with a power you've never known before. You're not a victim of the silence. You're the survivor of it, and now you walk in the weight of someone who has seen God move in stillness. Your discernment is sharper. Your voice carries more weight. Your prayers pierce further. Your stillness carries thunder. And when you speak next, it won't be with questions. It will be with decrees. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven has been building you. Let every demon that whispered you were finished tremble. Let every person who overlooked you feel the shift. Let every spirit that mocked your weight be silenced by your rise. Because when you come out of this season, you won't need to announce yourself. Your anointing will go ahead of you and make the announcement for you. You stepped out of survival. Now, you're walking in spiritual dominion. Type "I have risen" in silence in the comments if this word found you. Blessing code 2929 is activating over your next assignment now. And now, the mystery begins to unfold. The silence was never meant to crush you. It was meant to conceal the instruction, while heaven restructured your elevation. Every second you felt forgotten, every hour you sat in confusion, every day that passed without a sign, it was not wasted. It was strategic. It was measured. And now, heaven whispers the truth behind the quiet. You are not being ignored. You were being groomed. You were not being rejected. You were being preserved. Because what God is about to place on your shoulders could not survive your former mindset. The place He is sending you to requires a version of you that only silence could build. The delay was not a closed door. It was a guarded passage. The things you thought were withheld from you were actually being perfected for you. You asked for answers. God gave you stillness. You prayed for confirmation. God gave you preparation. You begged for a sign. God gave you silence, because silence is the loudest sound in heaven when destiny is near. This silence was not God's absence. It was God's incubation. You were being grown in the dark, like a seed, like a prophecy, like a warrior. The answers were never delayed. They were being wrapped in oil, covered in fire, and guarded by angels until you had the character to carry them. And now let heaven speak again. You have passed through the veil of the unknown. You have endured the spiritual drought. You have survived the test of the unanswered. And now, the Spirit of God declares, this is your unlocking. The time of observation is turning into the time of release. Your name is still known in heaven, but now it will be recognized on earth. The authority that once felt distant is now drawing near. The prophetic oil that once seemed quiet is about to flow. The opportunities that once slipped through your fingers are returning, not to test you again, but to reward you for enduring when you didn't understand. Hear this clearly. Your next level was hidden in the silence. And now that silence is being shattered by the sound of release. You are not who you were. You are not where you were. And you are no longer waiting. You are stepping in. So receive this word not as encouragement, but as activation. No more asking, Lord, are you with me? You have been surrounded by fire and angels the entire time. No more begging for signs. You are the sign. No more shrinking. Heaven has spoken. Go forth. A time of unlocking is now. The silence was heaven's shelter while your soul was being transformed. Now that the transformation has finished, your name will echo again, but this time with a response. Type I am unlocked in the comments if your spirit receives this word. Blessing code 8844 is now releasing divine outcomes around your name. If this prophetic moment struck your spirit, you are not just a listener, you are a partner in the move of God. When you sow into this word, through a super thanks, by joining this channel as a member, or through a one-time offering using the PayPal link in the description, you are helping this message go further, faster, and deeper into the lives of those still waiting in silence. Your giving becomes a declaration. Heaven still speaks, and I will help others hear it. Like a seed planted in sacred ground, your gift calls forth a harvest, not just for others, but for your own house. As the Lord declares, give, and it shall be given unto you. Let your act of support become a prophetic echo. Activate that release right now. Give boldly. Give prophetically. Give as one who knows heaven is unlocking something for them too. You have stood at the threshold long enough. You have heard the silence. You have survived the confusion. You have wept, fasted, questioned, and watched. Now comes the part where the Spirit demands something from you. No more observation. This is activation. And activation begins not when God moves, but when you do. There comes a moment in every destiny where heaven will not speak again until you respond to the last instruction. And for many of you, the delay that has cost you so much is not because God changed his mind, it's because you hesitated after the echo. You were waiting on God, but God was waiting on you. The silence was not denial, it was a summons. A call to see if you would still say yes when nothing in your life confirmed that you were chosen. This is that moment. A moment where destiny can no longer be delayed. A moment where obedience is not optional. It is the currency of your next dimension. Heaven will not keep repeating itself. The name was already spoken. The scroll has already passed before the eyes of the council. The moment was already opened on October 2nd. But when no answer came from you, the process paused. Not because God was finished with you, but because you had not moved in alignment with what had been released in the Spirit. And now, the Spirit says, move or lose the mantle assigned for this hour. This is the moment where declarations must be followed by decisions. Prayers must be followed by posture. Discernment must be followed by discipline. You are not waiting on permission. You are waiting on boldness. And boldness only comes when fear finally breaks under the weight of knowing who sent you. Step into your call. Answer the echo. Heaven is listening again, not to see if you can hear, but to see if you will obey. You must declare your yes, and not with words, but with alignment. Not with feelings, but with faith. Heaven doesn't just respond to hunger, it responds to honor. Will you honor what heaven showed you in silence? Will you steward what he whispered to you when no one else was listening? This next level requires your whole self, not just your prayer life. Not just your worship. It demands your movement, your discipline, your structure, your purity, your strategy, your voice. You are not a spectator in the kingdom. You are a carrier of divine assignments. And it is time to walk like it. Because when you move in obedience, you unlock the timing of God. When you step in faith, the atmosphere shifts. When you take up your mantle, the opposition crumbles. Not because you're strong enough, but because heaven now goes before you. And when heaven moves first, no gate of hell can stand. You've lingered long enough. You've asked enough questions. The answers are waiting on the other side of your yes. You are not just chosen. You are now being activated. Heaven has pulled your name forward again. The time is not future. The time is now. Type I am in divine alignment in the comments if this word ignites you. Blessing code 1212 is being released over your yes right now. There are moments when the loudest events in your life happen in absolute silence. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening. And you are only now beginning to discern it. The days that felt forgotten, the nights that echoed with your unanswered prayers, the seasons where every door closed and every voice went quiet, none of it was empty. None of it was void. Heaven was in negotiation. There was a silent exchange happening in the spirit realm. something sacred, something weighty, something eternal. Not with your permission, not even with your full awareness. But it was happening because your name had already been echoed before the throne. You couldn't see it, but heaven was bartering on your behalf. Heaven was intercepting what hell tried to claim. Heaven was transferring what was once delayed into your hands, underneath the veil of silence. You felt alone, but the Spirit was standing before the courtroom of heaven with every tear, every sacrifice, every obedience you ever gave, and laying it down as evidence. Not one moment has been lost. Not one cry was missed. While you stood in confusion, your angels stood in warfare. While your faith wavered, heaven's promises did not. While your spirit whispered, why the delay? The Spirit of God was decreeing, because I'm building the foundation beneath what they will soon walk upon. There were transactions taking place, divine exchanges that your mind wasn't ready to process. Heaven was reclaiming what was stolen. Heaven was retrieving what was forfeited in ignorance. Heaven was replacing what was broken with something better, something stronger, something tailored for your next dimension. That silence was not passive. It was prophetic. And while your natural eyes saw nothing, your spirit already sensed the shift. Your body didn't move, but your spirit was being repositioned. Some of the relationships that suddenly ended, they were part of that exchange. The job that didn't call you back, it was part of that exchange. The detour, the disconnection, the delay, they were not obstacles. They were heaven's divine negotiations preserving your next. You would have settled for less if God had answered you too soon. But now, what is being handed to you is not temporary comfort. It is eternal alignment. And there's more. The enemy didn't go silent because he gave up. He went silent because he sensed the deal was shifting out of his hands. He lost access while you thought you were losing hope. He lost leverage while you thought you were losing time. That's the brilliance of divine silence. It covers you while God is completing what the enemy can't intercept. Right now, even now, there are exchanges still in motion. Healing is being handed down. Restoration is being scheduled. Names are being repositioned. Keys are being reassigned. And it's all happening because you didn't curse the silence. You stayed. You believed. You kept breathing. And heaven recorded all of it. The vaults of heaven are releasing what was yours all along. But this time, when it comes, it will not be snatched, delayed, or diluted. It will come clean, sealed, and commanded by divine order. You didn't lose time. You didn't lose favor. You didn't lose your place. You were being divinely traded up while you thought you were being passed by. Type "I received the exchange" in the comments if this message awakened you. Blessing code 6363 is finalizing angelic release on your behalf. Let the accusers be silenced. Let the deceivers be exposed. Let every voice that mocked your weight, questioned your worth, and misinterpreted your stillness fall to the ground. For now the voice of righteous judgment thunders from the heavens. What they did in secret, heaven saw in full. What they plotted in whispers, God recorded in fire. And now, The time of divine silence is turning into the hour of spiritual justice. This is not about revenge. This is not about your personal comfort. This is about divine balance, heaven's perfect scales tipping back in your direction. The injustices that were dismissed, the betrayals that were buried, the warfare that went unnoticed by man, but screamed in the spirit realm, it has reached heaven's core. And God is not ignoring it. God is responding to it. The silence was never forgetfulness. It was heaven gathering every piece of evidence, and now the verdict is being released. They will not get away with it. They will not continue to prosper from what they did against you. They will not manipulate their way into your promise. Because when heaven renders a verdict, no lie can stand. No slander can survive. No demon can delay what has now been authorized by the righteous judge. What was stolen from you, time, favor, opportunity, position, is now coming back with interest. Restoration is not enough. God is releasing reversal. The ones who tried to bury your name will have to watch it be elevated. The ones who withheld doors from you will now need you to open doors for them. And the structures that rejected you will soon be unable to function without the oil you carry. This is not your doing. It is the result of heavenly documentation. God wrote down every tear. He recorded every moment you held your tongue. He saw when you refused to retaliate, even when you had every right. That self-control was not weakness. It was a weapon, and it purchased you favor in places your feet haven't yet touched. The reversal will not come with noise. It will come quietly, but powerfully. Things will start aligning with supernatural ease. Invitations will find you. People who once ignored you will begin to honor you. Access will open. And it won't make sense to them, but heaven knows it's because the court has ruled in your favor. You were never forgotten. You were being defended in silence. Let every illegal covenant be broken now. Let every unauthorized delay be overturned. Let every hidden trap be dismantled. Because what was done to harm you is now being flipped to exalt you. What was done in pride will now be exposed in shame. And what was done in darkness is being dragged into the light. This is the hour where God says, "Touch not my anointed, and do my prophets no harm," not as a warning, but as a judgment pronounced. This is the season where God doesn't just prepare a table in the presence of your enemies. He forces them to serve the bread. You've wept enough. Now, you'll be seen. You've suffered enough. Now, you'll be seated. You've waited long enough. Now, you'll walk into what was always yours. This is divine justice. This is holy reversal. This is the judgment that follows the silence. Type the scales are balancing for me in the comments if this word confirms you. Blessing code 1818 is executing heaven's reversal over your situation now. Let this word settle now like a mantle. Let it rest on your shoulders, not as weight but as evidence that you have passed through the silence and come out transformed. For the silence was never the end. It was the crucible, the proving ground, the veil between what was and what now begins. And today, this moment, marks the end of that delay and the rise of your decision. You asked, "Why no answer?" And heaven responded, "Because the silence was the answer." October 2nd was never about a missed moment. It was about a divine marking. Your name echoed in heaven not to test if God was listening, but to test if you would continue listening when He didn't immediately respond. And now, as the scroll closes, this truth stands. The silence was not rejection. It was realignment. It was divine hesitation designed to rewire your discernment. It was not the end of your calling. It was the activation of your commissioning. Heaven is no longer silent. The time of holy hesitation has passed. The window has opened again, and this time, what you do next will command heaven's resources. No more delay. No more doubt. No more disqualification in your mind. What tried to steal your momentum has failed. What tried to accuse your name has been dismissed. What tried to confuse your clarity has now been silenced by God Himself. You are rising now, not just in calling, but in clarity. You are rising in wisdom, in precision, in posture. This was not just a prophetic word, it was a spiritual transaction. Something has shifted. Something has moved. And now your atmosphere must align with what your spirit has already received. Walk forward without apology. Build without fear. Declare without hesitation. The God who hid you is now the God who sends you. The name that echoed in silence will now be established in fire and favor. You are not just known in heaven. You are now being announced in the earth. Seal. Seen. And now, send. Go forth, child of the silence. The delay was your making. The wait was your weapon. And the silence was your summons to rise. Type "I am sent" in the comments if this final word has sealed your next move. Blessing code 9999 is the completion over your former season and the activation of your release. As this final word settles into your spirit, I urge you to do what so many never do: respond. Not just in faith, but in partnership. If this message stirred you, transformed you, confirmed what you could not explain, then join this mission. When you give, whether it's through the super thanks, the YouTube membership, or a one-time offering via PayPal link in the description, you become a prophetic voice behind this message going into the nations. Your seed becomes a sound in the spirit. Heaven multiplies what you give because it's not just a donation. It's a divine activation. As Scripture says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over." What you release today, heaven will echo tomorrow. Do not delay. Do not ignore the prompting. Move with faith. Move with fire. Move like one who knows this silence has ended and their season has begun.